The alarm screamed through my helmet before my boots even touched the ground. Red lights flashed across my visor. Warning messages flooded my screen so fast I could barely read them. Toxic air, lethal gravity, predator life signs in every direction. The kind of warnings that should have made my heart stop. But my heart was steady, my breathing was calm, and I was smiling. My name is Lily Parker. I am 17 years old. I am the first human ever accepted into the Galactic Coalition Survival Academy. And right now, I was standing in the middle of a field that had killed every other student in my class within the first hour. 26 of them, all gone, all begging for rescue. And me, I was thinking about how the air smelled like my grandmother's farm. Let me back up. 3 minutes ago, I was sitting in a transport ship with the rest of my class. We were all heading to Examination Field 7, the most dangerous training ground in the entire coalition. Every student had to survive 72 hours alone in the Deathworld simulation. The previous record was 18 hours, set by a warrior from a planet where the rivers were made of acid. 18 hours. That was the best anyone had ever done. I sat in the corner of the transport, tightening the straps on my pack. My pack was small. Most of my classmates carried huge survival kits with shields, weapons, and emergency beacons. I had a granola bar, a water bottle, a small knife, and a flashlight. That was it. The girl sitting across from me was named Vex. She had 7 arms and skin that could melt through metal. She looked at my tiny pack and shook her head sadly. "Lily," she said softly, "please take my emergency beacon. You can press it when things get bad. The instructors will pull you out." "Thanks," I said, "but I will be okay." "Lily," her voice was kind but worried, "you do not understand. This place will end you. Humans are not built for this. I have seen the data on your world. Earth is so safe, so gentle. The strongest creatures on your planet weigh less than my smallest cousin." I almost laughed. I had to bite my lip to stop myself. She was talking about Earth. The same Earth where my uncle wrestled alligators for fun. The same Earth where my mother once chased a bear out of our backyard with a broom because it was eating from the bird feeder. The same Earth where my little brother got stung by 12 hornets last summer and just complained that his ice cream melted. That Earth, gentle. "I will be fine," I told her again. The boy beside her, a tall blue creature named Core, snorted. His skin was made of living silicon. He could survive in space without a suit. "She thinks she will be fine," he said to Vex. "How sweet, how tragic." I did not respond. I had learned in my first week here that nobody believed humans could handle anything. The Coalition had classified Earth as Hazard Class 12. Their scale only went up to 10. They had to invent new numbers just for us. They thought it was because we were weak and the planet was weak. They had no idea what those numbers actually meant. The transport began to descend. Through the small viewport, I saw swirling clouds, jagged rocks, and forests that stretched for miles. The instructor, a tall being named Professor Thrennick, came on the speaker. "Students," he said, "you are about to enter Examination Field 7. The conditions inside are extreme. You will face gravity heavier than your home worlds. The air contains gases your bodies must filter constantly. The water is full of minerals that can damage internal systems. Native creatures will hunt you. The rain itself is mildly acidic. Your goal is simple: survive 72 hours. He paused. "Cadet Parker," he said, his voice softer now, "I want you to know that the rescue team is on standby. The moment you press your beacon, we will come for you. Do not feel ashamed. You should not be here. The decision to admit you was political. We have signed every document. Your safety is our priority." I nodded politely. I did not press the beacon. The doors hissed open. Air rushed in, and every other student grabbed their helmets, sealed their suits, and activated their breathing units. Vex's 7 arms flew across her control panel. Core shielded his face. Even Sith, the predator boy from a jungle world, pulled his goggles down. Then I took off my helmet. The cabin went silent. Every alien in the room stared at me with wide eyes. Vex made a soft, scared sound. Kor whispered something I could not hear. Sith froze, his jaw slightly open. I took a deep breath. The air was thick. It smelled like wet leaves and rain and something sweet, like flowers I did not recognize. There was a hint of pine, a whisper of mud, the kind of smell that hits you when you walk into the woods after a summer storm. It smelled like home. Cadet Parker, Professor Thrennick's voice cracked through the speaker. Put your helmet back on, immediately. The oxygen levels are toxic. Repeat, the oxygen levels are toxic. 23% oxygen, I said, reading the screen on my wrist. That is normal for me, Professor. Earth has 21%. This is just a little higher, like the mountains back home. There was a long silence on the comm. I stepped out of the transport. My boots hit soft grass. The gravity pressed down on me and I felt heavier but not too heavy, about the same as carrying my grandmother's groceries up the stairs. I rolled my shoulders. I cracked my neck. I stretched my arms over my head and let out a long breath. The sun was warm on my face. 2 suns, actually. One yellow, one slightly orange. The sky was a soft purple, turning pink near the horizon. A breeze moved through the trees and somewhere in the distance I heard birds, or what sounded like birds. They were probably not birds, but the sound was close enough. It was beautiful. It was peaceful. It was, honestly, the most relaxing place I had ever been in my entire life. Cadet Parker, the professor's voice was tight now. What are you doing? Why are you not running? Why are you not seeking shelter? I am fine, sir. Lily, his voice changed. He used my first name, please. The other students are already deploying their emergency systems. Vexra has activated her shield. Kor is moving toward high ground. They are following protocol. Why are you just standing there? I looked around the field. I saw the trees swaying gently. I saw the long grass moving in the wind. I saw a small stream bubbling between the rocks about 30 meters away. I saw a few soft shapes moving through the underbrush, animals about the size of large rabbits, eating what looked like berries. I saw nothing dangerous. Nothing at all. Professor, I said carefully, what exactly am I supposed to be afraid of? There was a long pause on the comm. Then I heard him whisper to someone. I heard another voice, sharper, replying. I heard arguing. I heard someone say my name. I heard someone say the word impossible. Cadet Parker, Professor Thrennick finally said, please describe what you see, in detail. So I did. I described the trees, the grass, the gentle wind. I described the 2 suns and the purple sky. I described the stream and the small creatures eating berries. I described the way the breeze felt on my skin. I described how the air smelled like rain and pine and flowers. I described everything. When I finished, there was no sound from the comm for almost a full minute. Finally, the professor spoke. His voice was very quiet. Lily, he said, did you just describe Examination Field 7 as comforting? I thought about the word. Comforting. Yes, that was the right word. The way the breeze moved, the warmth of the suns, the sound of water nearby, the soft animals, the gentle hills. It reminded me of every camping trip my dad ever took me on. It reminded me of the woods behind my grandmother's house. It reminded me of summer mornings when I was little, before I had to worry about anything. Yes, sir, I said. Comforting is exactly the word. This place is lovely. I heard a thud through the comm. I think the professor fell out of his chair. Stand by, cadet, another voice said, a higher voice, the voice of the Academy's medical officer. We are checking your vitals, please do not move. I shrugged and sat down on a flat rock near the stream. I unzipped my pack and pulled out my granola bar. I unwrapped it and took a bite. The water from the stream looked clean, so I cupped some in my hand and drank it. It tasted like normal water, a little sweet maybe, something mineral like the water from the well at my grandmother's farm. I heard a strangled sound through the calm. She is drinking the water, someone said. She is drinking the water without filtration. The water that contains 17 native bacteria. She is eating. She is sitting. She is sitting on a rock. I waved up at the sky, where I knew the observation drones were watching me. Hi, I said. I am fine, really. I am going to start exploring soon. Should I begin the survival exam now, or do you want me to wait? The line went dead silent. Then, far away, on the other side of the field, I heard the first emergency beacon go off. Core, the boy made of silicon, the boy who could survive in space. His shield had collapsed. Then another beacon, then another, then 3 more all at once. I stood up slowly, my granola bar still in my hand. I looked toward the forest, toward the soft hills, toward where I knew my classmates had run. 26 beacons. Then 30. Then all of them. My entire class was calling for help. And I was the only one not in trouble. I tilted my head, listening to the sounds drifting on the wind. Far away, I heard a creature roar. It sounded like a big cat, maybe a mountain lion, but bigger. I heard wings flap somewhere above me, and a shadow passed across the grass. I looked up at the sky. A hawk or something hawk-shaped. It was hunting. Cadet Parker, the professor's voice came back, sharp and panicked. All other students are requesting extraction. The conditions are too severe. The rescue teams cannot deploy without ground support. The field is too dangerous. Too dangerous for the rescue team. Yes, Cadet. The field is rated beyond their operational tolerance. I took another bite of my granola bar. Professor, I said slowly, are you telling me that the rescue team, the team trained to save students from Deathworlds, cannot come in here to save my classmates? That is correct. But I can stay in here without any problems. That also appears to be correct. I chewed thoughtfully. I looked at the gentle stream, the soft grass, the pretty trees, the 2 warm suns, the whole peaceful, lovely field that had just taken down 26 of the most powerful young aliens in the galaxy in less than an hour. I thought about Vex, who had offered me her beacon out of pity. I thought about Core, who had laughed at me. I thought about Sith, who had pretended not to notice me at all. They needed help, they were scared, they were probably hurt. I sighed and finished my granola bar in 2 bites. I crumpled up the wrapper and tucked it into my pocket. I did not litter, even on alien planets. My mother raised me right. Okay, Professor, I said, dusting off my hands. Send me the locations of all the beacons. I will go get them. Cadet, you cannot possibly. Professor. Yes. Send me the locations. There was a long pause, then a soft, defeated sound. Then the locations of all 26 beacons appeared on my wrist screen, scattered across the field like fallen stars. I picked up my pack, I tightened the straps, I rolled up my sleeves. The wind moved through the trees. The sun warmed my face. Somewhere in the distance, a creature with 2 rows of teeth was probably hunting one of my classmates. I cracked my knuckles. All right, I said quietly to nobody in particular. Let's go camping. And I stepped into the forest, smiling. The first beacon was Vex. Her location was less than half a kilometer from my position, just past a small hill and into a thick patch of trees. According to my screen, she was not moving. Her vitals were stable but stressed. Whatever had happened to her, she was alive, but she was scared and hurt. I jogged through the grass, my boots soft on the ground. The 2 suns were still warm overhead, and the breeze still moved gently through the leaves. As I climbed the hill, I noticed something interesting. The grass got thicker. The trees got closer together. And the smell changed. It went from sweet and clean to something a little sharper, a little wilder. The smell of a forest where things lived, where things hunted. I slowed down. I had grown up hiking with my dad. He had taught me 1,000 small things. How to walk quietly. How to watch where you put your feet. how to listen for sounds that did not belong, how to feel the difference between a forest that was safe and a forest that was waking up. This forest was waking up. Something had moved through here recently, something big. I dropped lower, almost to a crouch, and moved between the trees. I kept my eyes on the ground, looking for tracks. I found them quickly. 6 prints in a row, each one bigger than my whole hand. The toes were long and ended in deep curves where claws had pushed into the soft dirt. 6 legs, big animal, heavy, recent. "Professor," I whispered into my comm, "tell me about the predators in this area." "Cadet, we strongly advise you to return to the extraction zone." "Professor, the predators." A pause, then a different voice came on. A voice I did not recognize, a female voice, sharp, direct. "Cadet Parker, this is Commander Holt. I am taking over comms for this rescue. The largest predator in your area is called a six-fang. It is approximately 4 meters long, weighs around 800 kilograms, and has 6 legs and 2 rows of teeth. It hunts in pairs. Its prey ranges from local herd animals to anything roughly your size." I nodded slowly. 800 kilograms, 2 rows of teeth, hunts in pairs. "Got it," I whispered. "Cadet, you do not have any defensive equipment. We strongly recommend." "Commander," I said, "where is Vex?" A pause, 40 meters ahead, behind a fallen tree. The 6 fangs are circling her position. I closed my eyes for 1 second, just one. I thought about my dad, about the day a coyote had walked into our campsite when I was 9. He had not panicked. He had not run. He had stood up, made himself big, made loud noises, and the coyote had backed off. Animals were the same everywhere. They wanted easy food. They did not want to fight. I picked up a rock the size of my fist. I picked up a stick about as long as my arm. I took a deep breath. Then I started moving forward, fast and quiet. I crested a small ridge and saw her. Vex was crouched behind a huge fallen tree, all 7 of her arms wrapped around herself. Her shield generator was sparking on the ground beside her. Her acid skin was burning small holes in the leaves. She was shaking. And on the other side of the clearing, 2 six-fangs were walking slowly toward her. They were big, bigger than the commander had described. Their fur was dark gray, striped with black. Their heads were low. Their 2 rows of teeth were already showing. Their tails moved slowly back and forth. They had not seen me yet. I stepped out from behind a tree, raised my arms over my head, and yelled. I yelled the loudest yell I had ever yelled in my whole life. The kind of yell my dad used to make when he was clearing bears from a campsite. A yell that came from deep in my chest and rolled out across the clearing like thunder. Both 6 fangs froze. They turned their heads toward me. For 1 second, the whole forest went silent. Then I threw the rock. It hit the closer 6-fang right between the eyes. The animal made a confused, hurt sound and stumbled backward. I yelled again, louder, and waved my stick in the air. The second 6-fang growled, but it took a step back. I walked toward them slowly, big and loud and angry. I made myself look as scary as I possibly could. I yelled. I waved the stick. I stomped my feet. I was a 5'6" teenage girl, and I was telling 2 giant predators that I was the biggest, meanest, most dangerous thing in this forest, and they had better leave right now. The first 6-fang turned and ran. The second one hesitated for 1 more second. Then it turned and ran too. The forest was quiet again. I stood there for a moment, breathing hard, my heart finally pounding. Not from fear, from the rush, from the wild, alive feeling of having done something that worked. Then I turned to Vex. She was staring at me. All 7 of her arms had stopped shaking. Her 3 eyes were wide. Her mouth, which was on her chest because that was just how Threnari worked, was hanging open. "Lily," she said, her voice was tiny. What was that?" "Yelling," I said. "Animals do not like yelling. It worked better than I expected, honestly." I walked over to her and held out my hand. "Can you stand?" She looked at my hand. She looked at my face. She looked at the place where the 6 fangs had been. She looked back at me. "Lily," she whispered, "I think I might be afraid of you." "Please do not be," I said. "I am literally just a teenager. Come on, let's get you up." I helped her stand. Her acid skin burned a small hole in my glove, but I had expected that. I had brought spare gloves. My grandmother always said, "When going somewhere new, pack twice what you think you need." We started walking back toward the extraction zone. Slowly. Vex was hurt and her shield was broken. She leaned on me as we walked. Her 7 arms held carefully away from my body, so she would not burn me. "Lily," she said quietly as we walked, "why are you not afraid?" I thought about it. "I am afraid sometimes," I said honestly. "I get afraid of tests. I get afraid of failing. I got afraid last year when my grandmother got sick. I get afraid that I will say the wrong thing and people will not like me." She blinked her 3 eyes at me. "But not of this place?" she asked. "No," I said, "not really." "Why not?" I thought about how to explain it. I thought about my whole life, the whole world I had grown up on. I thought about how to put it into words that an alien would understand. "On Earth," I said slowly, "everything wants to hurt you a little bit. The plants have thorns, the bugs bite, the water has germs, the sun burns your skin, the cold can freeze you, the heat can cook you, there are storms that flatten houses and shake the ground. There are animals everywhere that are bigger and stronger than us." "That sounds horrifying," Vex whispered. "It is just normal," I said. "From the day you are born, you learn how to deal with it. You learn that the bee will sting if you bother it, but it will leave you alone if you walk slowly. You learn that the river is cold, but you can swim in it if you are careful. You learn that the bear in the woods will not chase you if you make noise. You learn the dog might bite if it is scared, so you let it sniff your hand first." I paused. "You learn that the world is dangerous, but it is also beautiful, and you can be careful and brave at the same time. By the time you are a grown-up, you do not even think about it anymore. The danger is just there, like the sky. It is part of being alive." Vex was quiet for a long time as we walked. "Lily," she finally said, "how many things on Earth can hurt a human?" I laughed a little, almost everything honestly. "And you live there, all of you together, with all of these things?" "Yes." "How many humans are there?" "About 8 billion. She stopped walking. I stopped too. I looked at her. Her 3 eyes were full of something I could not name. "8 billion, she whispered. 8 billion of you on a world where everything hurts you, and you all just live there together, and you go to school, and you raise children, and you laugh at things." "Yes." "Lily," she was very still, "I do not think the coalition understands what you are." I shrugged and kept walking. She followed. "I do not think we are anything special," I said. "That," Vex said softly, "is exactly the part that is going to scare them." We walked on through the forest. The 2 suns were still warm. The wind was still gentle. Somewhere in the distance, the 6 fangs had given up and gone to find easier prey. The next beacon was a kilometer away. We had 25 more classmates to find. But Vex was alive. And the day was still young. I tightened the straps on my pack and kept walking, the granola bar wrapper crinkling in my pocket, the alien sun warm on my face, the whole strange, wonderful, comforting Deathworld stretching out around me. I had work to do. The second beacon belonged to a boy named Marcus. That was not his real name, of course. His real name had 37 sounds in it, half of them clicks and whistles I could not make with my mouth. So on his first day at the academy, he had picked a human name from a list, the way exchange students sometimes do. He chose Marcus. He told me he liked the way it sounded, like a stone dropping into still water. Now Marcus was hanging upside down from a tree. Vex and I crested a small hill and saw him from a distance. He was about 10 meters off the ground, wrapped in some kind of thick, sticky vine that had wound itself around his ankles and lifted him into the air. His head pointed at the dirt. His 4 arms were limp. His skin, normally a deep blue, had turned almost gray. "Lily," Vex whispered, "he is not moving." "He is moving," I said. "Watch his chest." She squinted. After a moment she nodded. He was breathing slowly, weakly, but breathing. "What do we do?" she asked. I studied the vine. It was thick as my arm and a strange shade of dark red, almost black. It came down from the top of the tree in long loops, with smaller branches that ended in sticky pads. The pads were what had grabbed Marcus. He had probably stepped on one without seeing it, and the whole vine had snapped upward, yanking him into the air. A snap trap plant. We had something like it on Earth, in the swamps down south, except ours were small enough to catch flies. This one was big enough to catch a person. "I need to climb up," I said. Vex made a small, scared sound. "Lily, those vines are alive. They will catch you too." "Maybe," I said, "but they have to react. They are slow. Watch." I picked up a long stick from the ground and threw it at one of the lower vines. The sticky pad on the end whipped sideways and grabbed the stick. The whole vine shuddered, then started slowly pulling the stick upward. Slow, the vine was very slow. "Stay here," I told Vex. "If something goes wrong, run back the way we came. Do not try to help me." "Lily." "Vex, please." She nodded. I walked toward the tree. I moved carefully, watching every vine, every pad. I picked my path like my dad had taught me when we hiked through brambles. Slow steps, light feet, eyes on the ground and the air at the same time. I reached the trunk of the tree without touching a single vine. The bark was rough and full of deep grooves, easy to climb. I had climbed harder trees behind my grandmother's house. I tucked my knife into my belt, took a deep breath and started up. The bark cut into my palms a little. The gravity was heavier than earth and my arms started burning by the third meter, but I kept going, hand over hand, foot by foot. When I reached the branch where Marcus was hanging, I crawled along it carefully. The vine that held him was attached to the branch with a thick, woody knot. I pulled out my knife and started sawing. The knife was small. The vine was tough. It took almost a minute of cutting before the fibers began to give way. Halfway through, the vine started to move. I felt it twitch under my knife. Then the whole branch shuddered. The plant had figured out I was there. A second vine, one I had not seen, came whipping toward me from above. I ducked and it slammed into the branch where my head had been, splintering wood. I cut faster. The first vine was almost through. The second vine pulled back and came at me again. I rolled sideways, almost falling off the branch. The vine missed me by inches. I heard Vex scream from the ground. "Lily!" I sawed harder. The first vine snapped. Marcus dropped. I had not thought about what would happen when he fell. He dropped 10 meters straight down toward the ground. But Vex was already moving. All 7 of her arms shot out and she caught him. 3 arms wrapped around his shoulders. 3 arms caught his hips. The 7th arm braced against the ground. She grunted from the impact, but she held him. I scrambled back along the branch, jumped to a lower one, and slid down the trunk so fast I tore the front of my shirt. I hit the ground hard, rolled, and came up running. The second vine was still whipping around the tree, looking for me. I grabbed Vex's shoulder. "Run." We ran. She carried Marcus with 4 arms and used the other 3 to push branches out of our way. I led, looking back every few seconds. The vines could not follow us. They were rooted to the tree. But for a long minute I could hear them moving behind us, slapping the ground, looking for what they had lost. Then we were over the next ridge, and the tree was out of sight. We stopped in a small clearing and laid Marcus on the ground. His blue skin was still gray. His 4 arms were still limp. I knelt beside him and pressed my fingers to his neck. There was a pulse, slow, weak, but there. "He is alive," I said. "What was wrong with him?" Vex asked, her voice shaking. "Why did he go gray?" I looked at his ankles, where the vines had wrapped him. There were small red marks where the sticky pads had touched his skin. The marks were swollen. A little bit of clear liquid was leaking out. The pads had stung him, some kind of poison. I dug into my pack and pulled out a small bottle. My med kit was tiny, but I had brought the basics: water, bandages, a small bottle of activated charcoal pills my mom had insisted I bring. "Vex," I said, "lift his head." She did. I crushed 2 charcoal pills into powder, mixed them with a little water in my hand and put it on his lips. Most of it dribbled down his chin, but some of it went in. I watched his face. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then his throat moved, a small swallow, another. Then his eyes flickered open. They were yellow, bright yellow like little suns. He looked at me for a long second, confused. Then he looked at Vex. Then he looked at the sky. "Where?" he whispered. "Where is the tree?" "Behind us," I said. "We got you out." "You," he blinked slowly. "You climbed it." "Yes." "While it was alive." "Yes." He stared at me. Then he tried to sit up. He could not. His arms were too weak. "Rest," I said. "The poison should wear off in a few minutes. Do not move yet." "How do you know it will wear off?" Vex asked. I shrugged. "It is plant poison. Plant poisons usually wear off if you keep the person breathing and clean. The charcoal helps soak up what is left in the stomach. My uncle taught me that when I ate the wrong berries on a hike when I was 8. "You ate the wrong berries?" "Yes." "And you survived?" "Obviously." Vex stared at me. Marcus stared at me. The whole alien forest seemed to stare at me. I pulled out my water bottle and took a drink. It was warm now. The 2 suns had been beating down on it in my pack. I did not mind. Warm water was still water. "How long did it take," Marcus whispered, "for the berries to wear off?" "I was sick for 2 days," I said. "Then I was fine." And then my mom yelled at me, and I did not eat strange berries again. Marcus closed his eyes. I could not tell if he was smiling or crying. Maybe both. After a few minutes, he could move his arms again. After a few more minutes, he could sit up. We helped him stand. He was still weak, but he could walk if Vex supported him. 24 left, I said, checking my wrist screen. "Let's keep moving." The next beacon was deeper in the forest. The path led down into a narrow valley where the trees grew closer and the ground was full of twisted roots. We moved carefully. The 2 suns were starting to dip lower in the sky now, and the light was turning golden. It would be evening soon. The shadows under the trees were getting long. "Lily," Vex said as we walked, "why are you doing this?" "Doing what?" "Helping us. We were not kind to you. Kor laughed at you. Sith ignored you. I tried to give you my beacon out of pity, but I never invited you to sit at my table. None of us ever made you feel welcome. And now you are saving our lives." I thought about it. "You are my classmates," I said simply. "That is not a reason." "It is a reason on Earth." She was quiet for a while. "Lily," she said finally, "on my world we have a saying. The strong protect the strong and the weak protect each other. There is no third option. The strong do not protect the weak. It would be wasteful. The weak cannot protect the strong. It would be impossible." "That is a sad saying." "It is just true." "Vex," I said carefully, "I am not strong by your standards, and you are not weak by mine. We are just people, different kinds of people. People help each other." "Why?" "Because if we do not, then nobody does, and the world gets darker." She did not answer. We walked on. The valley deepened. The trees grew thicker. The light grew softer. Marcus was getting his strength back, and after a while he could walk on his own. He did not say much. He just watched me, watched everything I did, the way I moved, the way I scanned the forest, the way I stopped to listen every few minutes. Once when we paused to rest, he said quietly, "Lily, why did you come to our academy?" "To learn." "What did you want to learn?" I smiled. "Everything, about all of you, about your worlds, about how to live in space, about how to be a part of something bigger than my own planet. I wanted to see the stars up close." "And what did you want to teach us?" I blinked. I did not come to teach, I came to learn. He shook his head. Maybe, but you are teaching us anyway. We started walking again. The third beacon was just past a small river. The river was shallow, only up to my knees, but the current was fast and the water was very cold. Vex hesitated at the edge. I cannot, she said. The cold will damage my skin, and the current. I will carry you, I said. You cannot carry both of us. I can carry you one at a time. She stared at me. Lily, she said, I weigh more than you. I know. By a lot. I know. I waded into the water. It was cold, the way mountain rivers are cold, the kind of cold that punches the breath out of you for a second. I waited until my body adjusted. Then I came back to the bank. Get on my back. Vex hesitated for a long moment. Then slowly she climbed onto my back. Her 7 arms wrapped around my chest and shoulders. Her weight pressed down on me. She was heavier than I expected, much heavier. My legs shook as I stepped back into the water. But I had carried my little brother across rivers before. He had not weighed as much as Vex, but he had wiggled. Vex was holding still. That made it easier. I crossed the river one slow step at a time. The current pushed against my legs. The cold bit into my skin. The rocks under the water were slippery. But I made it. I set Vex down on the far bank. She looked at me with wide eyes. I went back for Marcus. He was lighter than her and he could hold on better. We crossed quickly. When we were all on the other side, I sat down and pulled off my boots to drain the water. My feet were numb. My legs were trembling. My shirt was soaked. Vex and Marcus stood beside me, dripping. Lily, Marcus said softly, on my world we have a story about a creature that walks through fire and ice and storms and never complains. The story says this creature is a myth. It says no such thing could exist. I laughed and pulled my boots back on. I am not a myth, I said. I am just cold. We kept walking. The third beacon was just ahead. Behind us the river flowed on, indifferent. Above us the 2 suns were setting, painting the sky in deep orange and purple. The first stars were starting to appear. Strange stars, stars I did not recognize. I looked up at them as we walked. I had been so far from home, light years from Earth, from everything I knew, from my mom and my dad and my brother and my grandmother's farm. But somehow, walking through this strange forest, with 2 aliens leaning on me, looking up at strange stars, I did not feel far from home at all. I felt like I was exactly where I needed to be. The third beacon blinked steadily ahead of us, a small green light through the trees. We kept walking. The third beacon belonged to Sith. He was the one I had been most worried about. Sith was a predator from a jungle world. His whole species was built for hunting. They were fast, silent, and clever. If something had taken him down, it was something I needed to be careful of. We found him at the bottom of a deep pit. The pit was about 3 meters wide and 4 meters deep. The walls were smooth and steep. Sith was lying at the bottom, curled up on his side, one of his back legs bent at a wrong angle. He looked up when our shadows fell across him. Lily, his voice was rough, hoarse. Is that you? It is me, I said. What happened? He laughed bitterly. I was hunting, tracking a 6-fang. I thought I was going to be the first student to take one down. I was not paying attention to the ground. I fell. How long ago? 3 hours, maybe 4. My leg is broken. I looked at the pit. The walls were too steep to climb. There was no way Sith could get out on his own, and there was no way for me to climb down and lift him out without help. But I had 3 people now. Vex with 7 arms, Marcus with 4, me with my 2 and a brain. Vex, I said, how strong are your arms? Stronger than yours. Can you lower me into the pit and pull me back up with him? She thought about it. If I anchor myself, yes, but I will need something to brace against. I looked around. There was a tree about 5 meters from the edge of the pit, thick trunk, strong roots. Marcus, I said, can you tie a vine around the tree, a safe vine, not a sticky one? He nodded. He moved off into the forest, slowly because of the poison, but steadily. He came back a few minutes later with a long, thick vine, the kind that grew between the trees. Just a normal vine, not alive in a dangerous way. We tied one end of the vine around the tree. Vex held the other end. I took a third loop and tied it around my waist. Lower me down, I said. She did slowly. Her arms held the vine carefully. I walked backward down the wall of the pit the way climbers do on Earth. The walls were smooth, but my boots had grip. My waist was secure. The vine held. I reached the bottom and knelt next to Sith. His leg was bad. The bone was not sticking out, which was good. But the knee was bent the wrong way and the skin around it was swollen and dark. He had been trying to crawl out. There were scratch marks on the wall where he had tried to climb. He had given up hours ago. Sith, I said gently, I am going to splint your leg. It is going to hurt. Just do it. I pulled out the small first aid kit from my pack. Bandages. A small folding splint, the kind hikers carry, 2 strong straps. I had never set a broken leg before, but my dad had taught me the basics. Stabilize the bone. Do not try to set it perfectly, just keep it from moving. I worked carefully. Sith hissed once when I straightened the leg slightly, but he did not cry out. Predator pride. His species did not show pain. When I was done, the leg was wrapped tight. The splint held it straight. He could not walk on it, but it would not get worse. Okay, I said. We are going to get you out. I am going to lift you. Vex is going to pull us up. It is going to hurt. I am sorry. Just do it, Lily. I lifted him. He was heavier than I expected, maybe 70 kilograms of muscle and bone. I got him over my shoulder, his good leg dangling, his bad leg held carefully against my chest. I tightened the vine around my waist with one hand and tugged it twice. Vex pulled. Slowly we rose up the wall of the pit. The vine creaked. My back burned. Sith was breathing hard against my ear, trying not to make noise. We reached the top. Marcus and Vex pulled us over the edge and onto the dirt. We collapsed together in a heap. I lay on my back for a long moment, just breathing. The 2 suns had almost finished setting. The sky was deep purple. The first moon was rising, big and pale and beautiful. Lily, Sith's voice was soft. Why? Because you are my classmate, I said. I never spoke to you. Not once. In 3 months at the academy, I never said a single word to you. I treated you as if you did not exist. I know. Then why? I sat up slowly. I looked at him in the fading light, his sharp face, his golden eyes, the proud line of his jaw, even now, even hurt. Because you exist, I said. That is enough. He was quiet for a long time. We rested for a few minutes. Then we kept moving. Sith could not walk, but Marcus and I made a stretcher from 2 long branches and Vex's outer cloak. We carried him between us. The next beacon was 400 meters away. Then the next, then the next. Through the long evening, we moved through the forest. We picked up student after student. A girl named Tara, whose silver skin had cracked from the dry mountain air. A boy named Dane, who had been chased by a flock of sharp-beaked birds and was hiding in a cave. A small alien named Pip, who had fallen into a stream and could not get out because their species could not swim. I waded in for Pip. The water was cold again. I did not mind. We grew. 2 became 4. 4 became 8. 8 became 15. We moved together, a strange line of bruised and frightened students, all following one tired teenage girl with a scratched face and dirt on her clothes. Marcus walked beside me most of the time. He had recovered his strength and he had taken to scouting ahead, his sharp blue eyes catching things mine missed. We made a good team. Lily, he said quietly once as we walked between 2 big rocks, how do you keep going? What do you mean? You have been moving for almost 10 hours. You have climbed a tree. You have crossed a river twice. You have lifted Sith out of a pit. You have carried Pip out of a stream. You have run from six fangs. You have fought off birds. You have cut through vines. You should be exhausted. I am exhausted. Then why do you keep going? I thought about my answer for a while. On Earth, I said, we have an old saying, when you are tired, you can rest. When you are done, you can stop. But until then, you keep going. That sounds simple. It is simple. So why does it sound so impossible? I looked at him. The first moon was high now, and a second moon was rising, smaller and paler. The light fell across his blue face, turning him silver. He looked tired, brave, younger than he had looked yesterday. Marcus, I said, it is not impossible, it is just practice. You do it. Then you do it again. Then you do it again. And one day you do not even think about it anymore. You just do it. Because the alternative is to stop, and you cannot stop because there are people who need you. He was quiet for a long time. Lily, he said finally, I have spent my whole life thinking that I came from a tough world. I thought I knew what tough meant. You do come from a tough world. No, he said, I come from a world that thinks it is tough. You come from somewhere different. I do not know the word for it yet. We kept walking. Around midnight, we reached the 18th beacon. It belonged to Core, the boy who had laughed at me. He was hiding in a small cave in the side of a hill. His silicone skin had cracked in dozens of places. The humidity of the night air had short-circuited his neural pathways. He could barely move, could barely speak. I knelt in front of him and used my jacket to dry his skin, rubbing carefully along the cracks. His skin warmed slightly under the friction. After a while, his eyes focused on me. He stared. He did not speak for a long time. Then very softly he said, I owe you my life. You do not owe me anything. I owe you my life. Core. I laughed at you, he whispered. I called you tragic. I told Vex you would not last an hour, and now you are here, saving me, with your own jacket. Core, I am tired. Please just stand up. He could not stand. His legs were too damaged, so I picked him up and I carried him too. Marcus took half his weight. Together we walked. By dawn, we had found 23 of the 26 students. The other 3 were still alive, their beacons still steady, but they were on the far side of the field, across a wide open plain, with nothing to hide behind. And the air over the plain was full of flying creatures, big ones, with wings that blocked out parts of the sky. We stopped at the edge of the trees. We looked out across the grass. Lily, Vex said quietly, we cannot cross that. Those things will see us. They will come for us. I watched the flying creatures. They circled high above. They were big, maybe 2 meters across, sharp beaks, long claws. I thought about it. Then I smiled. They hunt by sight, I said. They cannot see in the dark. We have maybe an hour before the sun rises fully. Let us move now, fast, stay low, use the long grass. And if they see us? Then we run. We moved. We crossed the plain in a long, low line, 23 students and me. The grass came up to my waist. We stayed crouched. We stayed silent. The flying creatures circled high above, but the sky was still gray with morning and they did not see us. We moved like a single long animal through the grass, and the wind covered our sound. We reached the third-to-last beacon as the sun came up. It belonged to a girl named Iris. She had hidden in a hollow tree. She was unhurt, just terrified, and she came out into my arms when she saw me. The next was a boy named Owen, trapped in a stream of mud. We pulled him out with a rope. The last was a girl named Hannah. She had broken her arm and could not move. She was high on a small hill, exposed to the sky. She had been hiding under a thin sheet of metal from her transport. We had to run for her. The flying creatures had spotted us by then. I sprinted across the last 100 meters, my lungs burning, the others behind me. I scooped Hannah up. She screamed because of her arm. I ran back. The first creature dove at us. It missed. The second one came lower. Marcus threw a stone the size of his fist. It hit the second creature in the wing, and the bird tumbled away, screeching. We made it to the trees. We made it to the extraction zone. All 26 of my classmates, alive. I dropped Hannah gently onto the soft grass at the edge of the landing pad. Then I sat down beside her. My legs would not hold me anymore. My hands were shaking. I had been moving for almost 20 hours straight. My pack was empty. My water bottle was empty. I was covered in scratches and bruises. The cuts on my hands had stopped hurting because they had gone numb. I lay back on the grass and looked up at the morning sky. The two suns were both up now. Pink clouds drifted across the purple sky. A bird, or something bird-shaped, called from a tree somewhere far away. 26 aliens crowded around me, just looking at me. The Coalition rescue ship was already on its way. But for one long minute, before it landed, before everything changed, before the galaxy learned who and what humans really were, all 26 of them just stood there, looking at the strange, small girl on the ground, the girl who had carried them, the girl who had pulled them from rivers and pits and sticky vines, the girl who had stood up to Six Fangs with a rock, the girl who had called this place comforting. And one by one, they sat down beside me. Not far from me, not at a distance, right beside me. In the grass. Vex put one of her 7 arms gently across my chest, careful not to burn me. Marcus sat at my feet. Sith lay next to me with his broken leg. Kor leaned against my shoulder with his cracked silicon skin. The others gathered close. We watched the suns rise together. In the distance, the rescue ship's engines began to roar. The ship's engines were the loudest thing I had ever heard. It came down through the morning clouds in a cloud of dust and fire, settling onto the open grass at the edge of the extraction zone. The ramp dropped. Soldiers in heavy suits ran out, their weapons raised, scanning every direction at once. Behind them came medical teams with floating stretchers. Behind them came the professors. Professor Thrennick was first. He stopped when he saw us. 26 aliens, sitting in a circle in the grass. And in the middle, lying on her back with grass stains on her shirt and a torn jacket, one human girl. Me. The whole rescue team froze. Professor Thrennick walked toward us slowly as if he was not sure we were real. His tall body bent down. His eyes, all 4 of them, moved from face to face. From Vex with her dimmed acid skin, to Marcus with his bruises, to Sith with his broken leg, to Kor with his cracked silicon, to Iris and Owen and Hannah and Pip and Tara and Dane and all the others. To me. Cadet Parker, he whispered. I waved a tired hand from the grass. Hi, Professor. He sank down to his knees beside me. Real, full-on knees. Thrennick teachers did not kneel. It was not done. They were too dignified, but he knelt right there in the dirt next to a teenage human girl. All of them, he said quietly, every single one alive. Yes, sir. How? I sat up slowly. My back ached. Every muscle in my body felt like it had been pulled tight and let go. I just walked, sir, and then I picked them up, and then I walked some more. He looked at me for a long time. Then very softly he said, I was wrong about you, Lily. The medical team swept in. Stretchers rose under the injured students. Vex was carried away first. She held my hand with one of her 7 arms until they pulled her too far for our fingers to stay touching. Marcus walked onto the ship on his own, looking back at me twice. Sith was lifted carefully, his broken leg in a real splint now. Kor was wrapped in a special cloth that warmed his silicon skin. One by one, my classmates went up the ramp. A medic came to me. She held up a scanner. She looked at her readings. Her face changed 3 different colors. Cadet Parker, she said carefully, your vital signs are normal for your species. I know. You should be in critical condition. I am just tired. You are dehydrated, you have minor cuts, you have bruises, you have been awake for 24 hours, but you are not. You are not dying. No. She stared. You are not even close to dying. No. She kept staring. Finally, she just held out her hand and helped me to my feet. I wobbled a little. My legs were shaking, but I walked up the ramp by myself. I walked into the ship under my own power. I sat down in a cushioned seat next to a window. Someone gave me water. Someone gave me a warm blanket. Someone gave me a small, simple meal of bread and fruit. I ate it slowly. I watched the field through the window, the two suns, the purple sky, the long grass moving in the wind. The Deathworld. The comforting Deathworld. The ship lifted off, and the field fell away below us, and then the clouds swallowed it, and then we were in space, and then we were heading home. I leaned my head against the window and fell asleep. I slept for 16 hours. When I woke up, I was in the Academy Hospital. Soft white sheets, soft white walls, a soft white pillow. A small window showed the Academy's main station outside, ringed by the pale moon and the brilliant stars. A woman was sitting next to my bed. She was older, maybe 50. She had dark hair and sharp eyes. She wore a simple gray uniform with a single silver pin on her chest, the symbol of the Galactic Council, the highest rank in the Coalition. "Lily," she said, "I am Commander Holt. We spoke briefly during the rescue." "I remember. How do you feel?" "Stiff, hungry, confused." She smiled. It was a small smile, but a real one. "I will have food brought. As for the confusion, I am here to answer some of it." She poured a glass of water from a pitcher on the table. She handed it to me. I drank it slowly. "Lily," she said, "what you did out on Field 7, do you understand what it means?" "I helped my classmates." "You did more than that. You did something that has never been done before, not in the entire history of the Galactic Coalition Survival Academy. No student has ever rescued another student from Examination Field 7. No instructor has ever even been able to enter and recover students alive without losing a member of the recovery team. The field was designed to be too dangerous for sustained activity." "Oh. Yes, oh." She set the pitcher down. "Lily, the council has been meeting since the moment you brought your classmates back. 26 straight hours of discussion. They are still discussing. There is a great debate happening right now about what to do with what we have learned." "What you have learned about what?" "About humanity." I waited. She leaned forward. "Earth was classified Hazard Class 12 when we first surveyed your world. Off the chart. We assumed this was a measure of how dangerous Earth was to humans. We assumed your species must be barely surviving. Your numbers are large, yes, 8 billion. But on a world like that, we thought you were lucky to maintain even those numbers." "I see. What we have just learned, Lily, is that the Hazard Class 12 does not measure the danger to your species at all. It measures the danger Earth would pose to any of us. To us." She stopped for a moment, choosing her words carefully. "What we have learned, Lily, is that humans are not surviving Earth. Humans are thriving on Earth. You walk through it the way I walk through my office. You drink its water without filters. You breathe its air without masks. You eat its plants and animals. You build cities in its hardest places. You have children there. Your children play in its forests and swim in its oceans and chase its dangerous animals for fun." "Some of those are jokes," I said. "We do not all chase dangerous animals." "But some of you do, for sport, for fun. There are humans on your world who voluntarily climb the highest mountains, dive to the deepest oceans, walk to the coldest poles, for pleasure." "Yes. None of the other species in this galaxy do those things, Lily." I was quiet. "And you came here," she continued, "to our academy, the toughest training in the galaxy, and in 3 months you never complained. You never asked for special treatment. You sat in classes designed for warriors and predators and silicon-skinned soldiers, and you took notes, and you smiled, and you tried to make friends. I just wanted to learn. And then you stepped onto the worst field we have, and you did not die. You walked through it like a person walking through a park. You called it comforting." "It was comforting." She closed her eyes. "Lily, do you understand what is happening right now in the council? Do you understand the question being debated? No. They are asking what to do about your species. I felt something go cold in my chest. What do you mean? There are members of the council, Lily, who are afraid, who saw what you did and saw not a brave girl but a warning. They are saying that if a single human teenager can do what you did, what could a human army do? What could 8 billion humans do if we ever made you angry? They are talking about quarantine, about sealing Earth, about making contact with you forbidden, about classifying your species as a galactic risk. I felt my stomach drop. But there are others, she continued. Many others, including your professors, including the survivors of Field 7, including, most importantly, the students themselves. They are arguing that you are not a danger, that you are something else entirely, that you are a gift. A gift. They are saying, Lily, that the galaxy is full of strong species but few kind ones, that the strong protect the strong and the weak protect each other, that we have lived under that rule for thousands of years, and that you broke it. You, a teenage girl, you walked through the worst place in the galaxy to save people who never even spoke to you, people who had been unkind to you, people who could not protect you and whom you did not need protected. You did it anyway. They are saying, she went on, her voice growing softer, that humans are something the galaxy has never seen, a species that is strong like predators but kind like prey, a species that lives on a world that should consume it, and instead it raises children there, a species that, despite being able to do almost anything, chooses to do small, gentle things. I was very still. They are saying, Lily, that the question is not what to do about humanity. The question is what humanity might do for the rest of us if we are wise enough to welcome you. I sat there for a long time. Commander, I said finally, which side is winning? She looked at me. That is what I came to ask you, Lily, because the council has decided that they cannot make the decision without speaking to you first. They want to hear from you, the first human to ever stand before them. They want you to speak, tomorrow, at the council hall. Speak about what? About humans, about yourself, about what we should know before we choose. I let out a long, slow breath. Commander, I said, I am 17 years old. I know. I am not a leader. I am not a politician. I am not a hero. I am just a girl who came here to learn. I know. I do not know what to say to a galactic council. She smiled gently. Lily, the council does not need a leader, they have leaders. The council does not need a politician, they have many. The council does not even need a hero, they have 1,000 heroes. What the council needs is a regular person from your species. Someone who can tell them what humans are like when no one is watching. Someone who can tell them what your world is really like. Someone honest, someone real. She stood up. Sleep, Lily, eat, rest. Tomorrow you will speak, and the future of your world will be shaped by what you say. She left. I lay back on the soft white pillow. I looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, very far away, was a small blue planet. My blue planet with its 8 billion people, its forests and its oceans, its cities and its farms, my mom, my dad, my little brother, my grandmother. They had no idea what was happening. They had no idea what I was about to walk into. They had no idea that somewhere in deep space, a galactic council was deciding what to do with our entire world. And they had no idea that the person who would speak for all of them tomorrow was a tired teenage girl with grass stains on her shirt and scratched up hands. I closed my eyes. I thought about what to say. I thought about it for a very long time. When I opened my eyes again, the moon was high outside the window, and I had decided. I knew what I would say. It would be simple. It would be true. And it would change everything. The council hall was the largest room I had ever seen. It was bigger than a stadium. It was bigger than a cathedral. The ceiling was so high I could barely see it. It was carved from a single piece of pale blue stone. Around the walls, in seats that rose up like the inside of a giant bowl, sat the representatives of every species in the explored galaxy. Hundreds of them, thousands, beings of every shape and size. Tall, short, scaled, furred, smooth, translucent, glowing, stone, gas, water, light, all of them, watching. In the center of the hall was a small raised platform. I walked onto it alone. I was wearing a simple gray uniform that the academy had given me. My hair was tied back. My hands were clean. My scratches had been healed by alien medicine. I looked, for the first time since I had stepped onto Field 7, like a regular student again. But the room watched me as if I were something else entirely. I stopped in the middle of the platform. The hall fell silent. Above me on the highest level sat the council itself, 12 members, each one from a different important world. They watched me with 12 different sets of eyes. None of them smiled. Beside the council stood Commander Holt. She gave me a small, encouraging nod. I took a deep breath, and I began to speak. My name is Lily Parker. I am 17 years old. I am from a planet called Earth. 3 days ago, I walked into a place called Examination Field 7, where my entire class had been hurt. I helped them. Now you have asked me to speak to you about my people. I paused. I have been thinking about what to say. I am not a leader. I am not a teacher. I am just a girl, so I will not try to give you a great speech. I will just tell you the truth about my world. I looked around the hall. My world is dangerous. Some of the council members nodded slowly. They had read the reports. Yes, Earth has things that can hurt us. The plants have thorns, the bugs bite, the water has germs, the sun burns our skin, the cold can freeze us, the heat can cook us. There are storms that flatten houses and break the ground apart. There are creatures bigger and stronger than we are. I continued. On Earth, my grandmother lives on a small farm. She is 87 years old. She works in her garden every day. She grows vegetables in soil that has bugs in it. She fights off animals that try to eat her crops. She walks down to a creek to fetch water sometimes, even though she has a tap because she likes the walk. She has been bitten by snakes twice in her life. Both times she walked herself to the doctor. Both times she went back to the garden the next week. I paused again. My little brother is 8. Last summer he climbed a tree in our backyard. He fell out of it and broke his arm. He cried. My mother fixed his arm with a cast. 2 months later he climbed the same tree again. A small ripple went through the hall. My father runs a business. He works hard. He has worked through storms and through blizzards and through power outages. He has driven home in floods. He has shoveled snow off our roof to keep it from falling. He has done these things and many other things, and he does not think he is brave. He thinks he is just a regular man, doing his job, taking care of his family. I looked up at the highest seats. My mother is a nurse. She has helped sick people her whole life. She has been bitten and scratched and exposed to every illness there is. She has worked nights and days. She has come home crying from things she has seen, and she has gone back the next morning. I let the word settle. My grandfather served in 2 wars before I was born. He is gone now. But before he passed, he taught me how to fish, and how to fix a fence, and how to whistle, and how to start a fire with 2 sticks. He taught me that the world is big and hard, but that people are stronger than the world if they help each other. I took a slow breath. This is my family. We are not special. We are not warriors. We are not chosen. We are just regular people from a regular town on a regular planet. There are 8 billion of us, and most of us are exactly like my family. We all have a grandmother somewhere. We all have a little brother climbing trees. We all have a father shoveling snow. We all have a mother going back to work. I looked around at the hall. You ask me what humans are. I will tell you. Humans are people who get up in the morning, even when they are tired. Humans are people who go to work, even when it is hard. Humans are people who raise children on a planet that hurts them, and we do it because we love each other, and because we love being alive, and because we cannot imagine doing anything else. I paused. You ask me what humans are. I will tell you. We are not strong because we want to be strong. We are strong because we have to be. We are kind because we choose to be. We are not afraid of difficult worlds because every world we have ever known has been difficult. To us, this is just what life is. You are born, the world is hard, you make it through. You help the people next to you make it through too. You laugh sometimes, you sing songs, you have children, you grow old. You pass on what you learned. That is all there is. The hall was completely silent. On Field 7, I helped my classmates because they were my classmates. That is all. They had been unkind to me. I did not care. They were lost and I was not. So I went and got them. I looked at the council, at the 12 eyes watching me. I have heard, I said carefully, that some of you are afraid of my people, that you think we might be dangerous, that you are wondering whether to keep us locked away on our world. A few council members shifted in their seats. I want to tell you the truth, I said. We are dangerous in a way, not because we want to hurt anyone, but because we will not stop. We do not stop when we are tired. We do not stop when we are scared. We do not stop when we are hurt. We just keep going. There are 8 billion of us and we are all like that, every single one. The grandmother, the brother, the father, the mother, the grandfather, every single one. We are a species that does not stop. I let that sit for a moment. But we do not want to fight you. We do not want to take your worlds. We do not want to be feared. We just want to come visit. We want to see your planets. We want to taste your food. We want to fall in love with your people and write songs about your moons. We want to bring our children to your beaches and our grandparents to your mountains. We want to be good neighbors, good friends, good students. I smiled a small, tired smile. I came to your academy to learn. I did not come to be a hero. I did not come to save anyone. I just wanted to see the stars up close. I wanted to meet aliens. I wanted to make friends. That is what most of us want, to meet you, to know you, to learn about you. I took a deep breath. If you lock us away on Earth, you will lose something. You will lose what we can give you. We do not have your technology. We do not have your strength, but we have something else. We have the way our grandmothers smile, the way our children laugh, the way we sing in the rain, the way we sit on porches in the evening and watch the sun go down with each other. We have love, I said. Quiet, regular, everyday love, the kind that fills small houses, the kind that gets you through hard winters, the kind that holds families together for generations. That is what we have to give you. That is what we are. I looked up. I am not asking you to like us. I am not asking you to trust us right away. I am only asking you to give us a chance, to meet us, to know us, to let us be your neighbors. I took one last breath. I cannot promise that we will always do everything right. We will make mistakes. We will mess up. We will say the wrong thing and break things and need to apologize. We are not perfect, but we will try, and we will keep trying, because that is what humans do. I stepped back from the front of the platform. Thank you for listening. The hall was silent. For one long second. Then Vex stood up. She was in the second row with the other survivors of Field 7. All 26 of them were there, watching. She rose up out of her seat. All 7 of her arms hung at her sides. Her 3 eyes were on me. She started clapping. It was a strange sound. Threnari do not normally clap, but Vex had learned the human gesture from me. She had practiced it secretly for weeks. And now she clapped, slowly at first, then faster. The sound filled the hall. Marcus stood up next. Then Sith, then Kor, then Iris, then Owen, then Hannah, then Pip and Tara and Dane and the others, all 26 of them standing, clapping. Some of them did not have hands. They made the sound in other ways. They tapped their feet. They hummed. They flashed their lights. Then Professor Thrennick stood. Then the other professors. Then the students in the higher seats. Then the soldiers along the walls. Then the council members, one by one, slowly but they stood. The whole hall was on its feet. The whole hall was making sound. And I just stood there in the middle, a teenage girl in a gray uniform, watching the galaxy welcome my people. I did not cry. I had never been a crier. but my eyes felt warm and my hands shook a little, and I had to bite my lip to keep my face calm. The vote was held that same afternoon. The council voted unanimously. Earth was admitted into the Galactic Coalition as a full member world. Our hazard classification was changed. We were no longer Hazard Class 12. We were given a new classification, one created just for us. The classification was called Origin World, Sapient Thrivers. The word was new. They had to invent it because nothing in their language fit what we were. I went home for 2 weeks after that. The coalition gave me a small ship. It traveled fast. I made it home in 8 days. My family did not know I was coming. I walked up the long dirt road to my grandmother's farm with the sun setting behind me. She was on the porch. She looked up. She squinted, the way she always did when she could not see clearly. Then she stood up slowly and walked down the steps toward me, and she was crying before she even reached me. "Lily." "Hi, Grandma." She pulled me into her arms, and she smelled like flower and lavender and old wood, and the wind moved through the trees around us, and the stars were just starting to come out, and somewhere in the distance, a bird was singing its evening song. I held her tight. "Are you all right, baby?" she whispered. "Was it hard out there?" I thought about the field, the 2 suns, the 6 fangs, the pit, the river, the flying creatures, my 26 classmates, the council hall, the whole strange, wonderful adventure. "It was easier than you would think, Grandma." She laughed and squeezed me tighter. "That is my girl." I went back to the academy 3 weeks later. Vex was waiting for me on the landing pad, so was Marcus, so was Sith walking now without a crutch, so was Core, his silicon skin healed and stronger than before. The others came too, all 26 of them. They had become my friends, my real friends, the kind of friends that you make when you go through something hard together. Vex hugged me first, carefully because of her acid skin. Marcus hugged me next, then Sith, awkward and proud. Then Core, who whispered thank you in my ear, the same way he had whispered it the first time on the ground in the cave. The academy was different now. It had a new program, a new kind of class, mixed species teams, cooperation classes, survival training that focused not on individual strength but on the strength of working together. They called it the Parker method. I had not asked them to call it that. They had done it anyway. I was famous in a way. But I did not feel famous. I just felt like a regular girl who was going back to school. Years passed. I graduated. I went on to other things, other adventures, other worlds. I made more friends, saw more stars, helped more people, brought more humans into the galaxy with me. The first wave of human travelers came out the way I had said they would. They went everywhere. They made friends everywhere. They wrote songs about alien moons just like I said they would. They brought their grandmothers to alien beaches. They brought their children to alien mountains. They made the galaxy a little bit warmer, a little bit kinder, a little bit louder, a little bit more alive. Sometimes, when I am very far from home, I look up at the strange stars from a strange planet, and I think about that day on Field 7. The day I stepped off the transport. The day I took off my helmet. The day I breathed in the air of a world that was supposed to break me, and I smelled my grandmother's farm. I think about how the wind moved through the grass, the way the 2 suns warmed my face, the peaceful, beautiful, deadly, comforting field that taught the galaxy what humans really are. We are not warriors. We are not heroes. We are not chosen. We are just regular people from a regular planet, and we keep going, and we help each other, and we love each other, and we do not stop. That is all we ever were. That is all we ever needed to be. And the stars, oh, the stars are so much closer than they used to be. The end.